the Justice Department's interpretation of the law, the Archives' interpretation of the law, and more importantly, the court's interpretation of the law said he had a right to these records, and they pretended he didn't and played games with the court to get this abusive raid on him. This is what they wrote in the document. One of my colleagues pointed this out to me in the Trump warrant. 184 unique documents bearing classification markings were within the 15 boxes that Trump's legal team returned to the government earlier this year. Of those, 67 documents were marked as confidential, 92 marked as secret, and 25 marked as top secret. Now, just because they're marked, as I said, doesn't mean they're classified. If they're declassified, those markings are artifacts, right? It's an historical artifact. This is a record that previously had been classified, but because it was in President Trump's possession after he left the Oval Office and he had taken them with him out of the White House, they were presumptively declassified. That's the law. And this is what Comey said about Hillary. From the group of 30,000 emails returned to the State Department by her, 110 emails in 52 email chains had been determined by the owning agency to contain classified information at the time they were sent or received. 8 of those chains contained classified information that was top secret at the time they were sent. 36 chains contained classified information, secret information at the time, and 8 contained confidential information, which is the lowest level of classification. So Hillary had 110 classified emails chains. Trump allegedly had 184. Of course, the big difference is that Trump had a right to those records, and he had declassification authority under the Presidential Records Act. And none of this was declassified by Hillary while she was there. Certainly, she had no authority to declassify them after she left. Yet, Trump's home was raided, and Hillary was treated with kid gloves. Dramatic evidence of corruption. So it's, again, your Judicial Watch taking the lead. The left is upset that Judicial Watch and I am telling the truth about the sham basis of this abusive raid on President Trump. Sham basis. There is no good faith basis. Now, allegedly, there are people around Trump who leaked my alleged conversations with President Trump. I don't know what they're up to. I don't know who CNN talked to. But I do know what the truth is. And the truth is that President Trump had a right to these records. The Justice Department's interpretation of the law, the Archives' interpretation of the law, and more importantly, the court's interpretation of the law said he had a right to these records, and they pretended he didn't and played games with the court to get this abusive raid on him. Incredible. Incredible. And this is the same FBI that's protecting Hunter Biden, protecting Joe Biden. Remember, this raid came shortly after it was disclosed by whistleblowers that the FBI had suppressed and buried an investigation of Hunter Biden's laptop just before the election. And sure enough, this week, we have more information about the FBI's subversion of our Republican form of government, where you had Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook essentially admitting that the FBI came in and said, oh, watch out, there's going to be Russian disinformation being dumped. And sure enough, the Hunter laptop comes out, and Zuckerberg says, well, this is what they must have meant. And so he suppressed it. His Facebook suppressed it just before the election. So you had the FBI obstructing its own investigations and censoring Americans and trying to pressure big media, big tech to censor Americans about the Hunter Biden laptop just before the election. And then they go and raid this poor man's home, President Trump, based on nothing, a document dispute. I was shocked by it. That's one of the reasons I get outraged, because I genuinely expect people to do the right thing. And it's surprising to me and disappointing and outrageous when they don't. I'm outraged because I'm an optimist who often has to meet reality in my work here at Judicial Watch. So that's where I get this outrage from. It's because I'm an optimist. And it's upsetting to see people that you hope would do the right thing and you would expect do the right thing, don't. And in this case, the FBI is in a moral and ethical collapse, and they can't be trusted to tie their shoes, let alone raid, do something as sensitive as concoct or manufacture a reason in working with the deep state DOJ, the Biden operation that's running the DOJ, the anti-Trump activists at the archives, who thought that they could get the FBI involved because they wanted documents for history that they had a right to, but the law didn't allow them to get. Completely, you know, it's kind of this hijacking of our Republican form of government and our separation of powers that protect all of our liberty by these bureaucrats and these political appointees. And of course, Judicial Watch will now consider whether or not, and this is something our lawyers are taking a look at, what are we going to do about these redactions, huh? What do you think we should do? Should we just let them sit? I don't think we're going to do that. I get to play client as corporate representative for Judicial Watch, as president of Judicial Watch. So I'm going to encourage some type of effort to try to get more access to this information. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.